Now we will download Docker for Windows or Docker desktop. Just search in Google Docker desktop. You can see this link, Docker desktop for Mac and Windows. Just clicking to this link, Docker desktop. You can download Docker desktop for Mac and Windows. Click on this link. So there is one more page open. So you can download Docker desktop for Windows. So this is the installer. It's asking the path where to store. Once it's downloaded, we can install the package. So it's downloading now, Docker for Windows. It takes some time. Almost downloaded. As I told you, you have to create a Docker Hub ID. So Docker Hub contains most of the Docker images, well-known images. So you can download from the Docker Hub. Once it's downloaded, just click to install the Docker for Windows package. So I'm just clicking onto this. Docker desktop install is starting. So just give S. So it started installing. So it's getting some packages needed from the Docker Hub. So your internet should be on. Okay, here almost done. Only configuration is asking add shortcut to desktop, and the second one use Windows containers instead of Linux containers. Okay, this by default it installs Linux containers, so you can switch it back to Windows containers if you want. So I'll leave as it is. It install the Linux container. Okay, installation succeeded. Close. So now you have to start it manually. It's installed and it's not started automatically. Just search for Docker. Here Docker desktop. Okay, run it. Just double click onto this. You can run as administrator if you have permission. Just double click onto this. It will run. So you can see in the tray those starting now. The Docker desktop is starting. It takes some time to start. Meantime, I can open the settings it has. Docker, right click and settings. So you can see the Docker is starting in orange color is written. So these are the tabs available for our configuration. So you can see now general tab. Just take. Let's wait for Docker to run. Okay, now Docker is started, and in the right hand side it's asking for login ID and password. The same thing when you created Docker Hub ID, same thing you can give here. While downloading Docker for desktop, you created that ID. So same thing I'll give him here. Login. So once it's logged in, you can see here. See, this is it's logged in KPTech. It's logged in now. So now these are the tabs available. See, generic general tab. This is a generic information like when to start the Docker or automatic check for updates. These are the generic usages for the Docker. So next is the shared drive. So it has to we have to give the any of the shared drive to store its data. So Linux containers uses to mount the data here. So this is the C drive. Okay, then we have advanced. So apply changes. Okay, just I'm applying the changes what we did earlier in the share drive tab. Apply. So next is the advanced tab. Here it defines the what are the resources it uses. CPUs 2, memory by default is taking 2 GB. We can change it according to our software needs. Swap memory 1 GB. So disk image, it is the path where the disk image stores. Program data, Docker desktop, VM data. This is the path, and it stores in a Docker desktop VHDX virtual hard disk. So next is the disk image. So this is the image size, and it's by default it is having 59.6 GB. Okay. Next is the network. So if we are using any VPN connection, anything like that, we can use this subnet address, subnet mask like this. Proxies. If you want to use proxies like HTTP proxy before hitting our Docker container, you can set up this proxy in here. So daemon. So daemon is actually a Docker engine. So it runs to the in a core in a Linux kernel. So what happens? Any data from outside client, it goes to the daemon and it will processes the any requests coming from the clients. The Kubernetes. This is a if you enable the Kubernetes, it handles the orchestration of the Docker containers. So there's a completely different topic related to Docker, and like Kubernetes, we have other like from Docker also Docker Swarm, like kind of tool we have for orchestration. So reset whatever you did any changes to the settings, we can reset it, and the factory settings will be enabled that time. So now you can see the Docker started running, and we have all the configurations okay as of now. So if you want specific softwares, you can change this configurations, and the when it changes configurations, just restart the Docker. sometimes the Docker itself restarts when you change the specific configurations related to memory, CPUs, and all. Okay, this is like how we uh, install the Docker and how we can configure the Docker now. So when you open the Windows PowerShell to check how this is this installed properly Docker. So Docker hyphen version. So just check this. So you can see now Docker version 19.03. It installed this latest version 19.03 is the one. Okay, like this we can set up the Docker and check it's installed successfully. Like when you do this, it's giving the option runtime version. So now Docker is installed successfully.